First Round Fantasy Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Morsaz, and I'm here with Demont Ricks today. What's going on, guys? How you doing, Demont?
I'm doing great, man. I just suffered a heartbreak, but, I'll get over it just like, all the ex-girlfriends in the past.
That's what's going on. I have been absent for the last couple of weeks. I've been moving. As you can see, I got a new background over here, but I'm ready to get back into it. Let's go ahead and get started. It is Thursday, right after the Chargers-Raiders game. What's your takeaway from that? How you feeling? I know, obviously, the Raiders are your team, but fantasy-wise, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking all the play. Well, actually, no. What Keelan didn't ball out too much, so people that started him tonight might not be getting that finals matchup that they wanted. But on the Raiders side, Waller, I know a lot of playoff teams are going to have Waller, and he gave you a great start. So that's pretty much my takeaways. Aguilar, I mean, you're not going to start Aguilar if you're in the playoffs right now, so most likely.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert also did really good in a league where it's 4 points per touchdown, and I think he ended up getting me 33 points, so that was a big bonus. Waller, man, that guy has been money the last really all season he's been money. He's had a couple bad games,
but these last 2-3 games though, he's feasted.
The last 3 games, 50 points, 15 points, 35 points.
That is crazy.
Yeah, he's been on fire.
And hey, I pour one out for all my quarterback streamers like in the playoffs. If you started Derek Carr, oh my God, I'm sorry.
That would be brutal. That would be brutal.
Yeah, that's a tough loss.
I mean, if you're here, at this point, you're down to the last 4 teams, right? This is semifinals week. Mm-hmm. So if you're playing Derek Carr in the semifinals, you probably didn't deserve to be there and you got lucky. So
True.
I don't have much sympathy for you. Another takeaway, Josh Jacobs, he had a couple of down weeks in a row. He balled out for 20. But Keenan Allen, that was the big one you mentioned.
Yeah.
He's been carrying people, man, and
carrying people.
Was he injured? I think he may have popped up on
He was hobbled. I think was it a hamstring?
I'm looking right here. It says, hammy likely will be active, but limited.
Yeah. But oh my goodness, 2 points. Oh my goodness. That's
1 catch, 17 yards.
That's gross. That's gross.
Yeah, I got a buddy who's I'm in the finals and he's in the finals. We're not playing against each other though. And he's playing against the guy that had Waller and Keenan Allen. And he messaged me, he's all, bro, if Waller just had a regular game, I would be great right now. And I'm like, dude, just think about it. You expected 20 from Keenan Allen, 15 from Waller, and, just go with the money. So, all right. Well, I want to get into the dark horses. I know we're a little late on this because we missed the Monday podcast. But you want me to start it off, or you got some guys that you want to mention?
The only dark horse that I have, and that is going to be Zeke. I'm not starting Zeke.
No. That's your fool's gold.
So my dark horse is going to be probably – I'm going to go with somebody who he could be on your team if you're in the playoffs. I'm going to go with Cole Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
I think Beasley is going to ball out. And then, say I have, a Zeke in my flex, I'd much rather play, a Cole Beasley. Let's see the matchup. Who do he has? Denver.
He's got Denver, yeah.
Oh, that's a tough matchup, actually. But these last 2 weeks, he has 11 targets, 10 targets, and I don't see it going down. So, I'm going to go with Cole Beasley just because of the target share.
Yeah, he's been money, really 4 weeks in a row, at least from a flex standpoint. I'm not sure he's a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. He's put up those numbers. 4 weeks ago, he got you 28, then he gets you 11, then he gets you 33, then he gets you 9. So, you can live with that because
exactly.
if I got a guy in my flex and he puts up 33, I'm going to live with 10 the next week. I'm okay with that,
So, would you say you have – because Zeke at this point is a flex play, right? We can say
I'm playing Cole Beasley. All
right.
Yeah.
So that's the scenario I'm trying to give people, yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you on that one. I'll give out my dark horse, and I'm not sure he's a dark horse anymore, man, because if you're not starting him, you're messing up. But I have him in 2 leagues, and I'm deciding between him and a couple guys, and I'll bring up those options once I mention him. But that is Brandon Ayuk. And he has been balling all season when he plays, and he's like a consistent 15 to 20 every week. But still, it seems weird because I'm in a couple leagues where it's like he feels like a no-brainer start, but then I look at some of the other options I have, and I feel bad benching those guys. So I'm debating in one league in your league actually, between Ayuk, McLaurin, Kareem Hunt, and Godwin. So
Ooh.
it's like you got Godwin against Atlanta, but I still feel better rolling out Brandon against Dallas, especially because Debo's out, Kittle's out, Mostert might be out, and I feel like it's all going to go to him. So that's my dark horse. I think he's a top 15 play out wide receiver, and
Easy.
yeah, there's not a lot of guys I'm benching.
Yeah. Especially versus Dallas. Easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into the fool's gold, and I think this is where you were going to mention Zeke. So tell us a little bit about why that's your fool's gold.
I don't want this to be my fool's gold because I own a lot of Zeke. But it's just not there. He's getting the volume. It's not like he's getting less snaps. The team is just isn't scoring as many points. Like what he got, let's see, 21 carries, 10 carries, 18 carries, 12 carries, and that's pretty much it. Like they don't score touchdowns, this team.
Yeah.
So there's no point in playing Zeke. I would just put him to your bench and play a Cole Beasley. Just literally anybody with any kind of upside, because Zeke's floor is like 5 and his ceiling right now is 10. So if I'm in a playoff matchup, especially this next level, I'm gonna go for the gusto, and I'm not playing Zeke.
Good point. Yeah, since week 6, Zeke has cracked, and this is PPR. This is not standard. This is PPR. He has cracked 10 points twice, and that's what, like 8 games. He's cracked 10 points twice. I mean, your floor with him, like you said, is 5 points, maybe less.
Yeah,
and your ceiling is not even good. I mean, in those weeks, the 2 weeks that he cracked 10, he had 11.5 and 18.5. So it's not like, man, he could blow up for 40. I got to get him in my lineup. I'm hoping that he gets 15. So if you got better options out there, I'm rolling with them.
But this also shows the Dak effect. Look at those first 5 weeks. He was like a top 3 RB. Like Dak is pay that man.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you mentioned tonight, actually. You actually just mentioned this a couple minutes ago, but it might have been before the podcast, but you were talking about how Mariota brings that element to the Raiders of the RPO.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts just did the same thing in Seattle, or excuse me, in Philly against they're playing against Seattle this week, I think. Or excuse me, they may have just played him. Whatever. In Philly, Hurts came in, and all of a sudden, Miles Sanders, who looked like a bum 4 weeks in a row, all of a sudden has his best game of the season, and Hurts does too. And, all of a sudden that team puts up 200-something rush yards when they've been struggling to put up 100. And the same thing happened with the Raiders tonight. Jacobs has been great for a lot of the season, but the last couple of games he hasn't really done much. And then all of a sudden Mariota comes in. Mariota, I think, had 90 yards himself on the ground. And then Jacobs had a big game on the ground. And even Booker, I don't think he had that many carries, but he looked okay when he got in.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point about the run option quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, 14 rushes for 115 yards. That's ridiculous after being like a peasant these last 5, 6, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a great point.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was almost made my dark horse, but I'm going to wait and see on that one. So I'll get to my fool's gold. This is actually another running back who's been hot and cold, a little bit better than Zeke this year, I would say, but that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I can't trust him.
Oh, that's your baby.
It is, and listen, I still like him long-term. I think as the Chiefs kind of progress, he's going to get some more involved in the pass catching probably next year and goal line work, and he's not really getting a ton of that right now. And just the Chiefs are just, dude, I watch them, and they can throw anytime they want. And it's almost like Tyreek Hill has a blow-up game, and then Kelsey has a blow-up game, and you're praying that Clyde gets 5 catches and hopefully gets in the end zone, and he gets you 15 points. I don't feel good about that. They're playing against the Saints. I think the Saints have a good defense. I think that the Chiefs are much better in the air. So I think we're going to see a big game from Kelsey, a big game from Tyreek, and I don't think Clyde. Maybe you get 10 out of him. You pray for a touchdown, a couple catches, like I said, but I'm not feeling good about it. If I have other options, for instance, I'm in a league where I have basically Ayuk and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'm starting, and then Miles Sanders, and I'm starting Sanders and Ayuk over Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because I don't think it's so much like Bell being a hindrance to Clyde. It's the fact that they just throw the ball so effectively.
Yeah,
and they score deep touchdowns, long touchdowns, and then they get up. They don't need to score anymore. So I wouldn't be scared of Bell like as a handcuff. It's just that the Chiefs don't need to run the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Bell hasn't done what I thought he was going to do. I mean, I thought he was going to come in and take 10 carries a game. It hasn't been that.
No.
He's not really even I think he had 2 carries last week. He's not touching Clyde's workload. It's just that, like you said, they just don't run. It almost is like Le'Veon was just brought in as insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah, hey, if Clyde goes down, at least we have somebody. So, all right, well, let's get into it. Let's do these previews. So we've done this a couple of times now. I think the best way to do it is just you go one, I go one, you go one. And if you have anything to add while I'm going or vice versa, we can do that. And let's just try to rattle off some of these guys, who you're starting, who you're sitting, if there's anything out of the ordinary. So we'll start with the Bills first, the Broncos. Obviously, some of the injury news I'll get into is Melvin Gordon has been limited in practice this week. John Brown is designated to return. He's questionable from the IR. And Noah Fant looks like he's going to play, but he was held out, I think, one practice on Wednesday with an illness. So what are you thinking about this game? Broncos tough defense. Do you trust Josh Allen? How are you feeling?
I think at this point you have to go Josh Allen no matter what, just because he's an MVP candidate. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, if you have Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, of course Josh Allen's going to go to the bench, but I'm guaranteeing you don't. So yeah, you keep Allen in. He's been good. Broncos aren't that tough.
That's funny you say that because I do have Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers in one league.
That's a tough decision.
And I'm starting Aaron Rodgers, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Just because he has the most touchdown passes.
Yeah. So you've already told us about Cole Beasley. How are you feeling about the Bills running backs? Are you starting any of those guys?
No, and I guarantee you there's nobody in the playoffs right now starting Singletary and Moss at all. So yeah, that's a push. But Diggs and Beasley, there's plenty of playoff teams with those two. Diggs is the top 8 receiver, top 7,
top 2 actually this year. He's been on fire.
Top 2 for PPR.
From what I checked last week when I was talking with Jacob,
he's a monster. Remember when we said top 15 and they're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So in your league, which is half PPR, he's not. But I think in the regular leagues,
in full PPR, he should be because he catches a lot.
Yeah, he does, and that's the thing. So I'm gonna just double check here real quick. Why don't you tell us? So my bad. He is number 3 behind Demont and Tyreek Hill.
Goodness, he's a beast.
Yeah. How about the Broncos? Are you starting anybody from the Broncos?
Oh my goodness. No, because Gordon and Lindsey had decent showings, so they're gonna continue to split.
Yeah.
So the only a home run I would go for an injury, maybe Patrick. That's it. That's the only thing I can see. I mean, and Fant is probably somebody's tight end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, roll with them because they're gonna have to score points versus the Bills.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I mean, Fant has been okay this year. I think we all had higher expectations for him, especially after he came out the first couple of weeks, and he was getting monster targets. I think he had 8 targets and then 10 targets, and I think you had somebody earlier in the year, and I thought you traded another tight end because you had Font and you were like, oh, I'm gonna roll with him, but maybe you traded Font and kept Waller.
I believe I traded Waller away because I had Font, but then he just kind of just disappeared for me.
Yeah, so that's just how it goes sometimes. Anything else you want to talk about on this matchup?
No, I think this matchup is pretty straightforward. I mean, there's players you're going to start like Josh Allen, Diggs.
Yeah.
And then the question marks are like Beasley, but I say go ahead and start Beasley. And then on the Broncos side, I don't really see anybody that I like besides Font and Patrick.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. One thing I am a little bit scared of is just the Bills getting ahead and Josh Allen just not having to do too much. So we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, that's true too.
I am starting him in one league, though. I made the second round in 4 out of 5 leagues, and I am starting him in one, and it's my favorite, most important league. So I hope it works out. All right, I'll move on to the next one. Panthers versus the Packers, and I'll grab this one. I think we know, you're starting Rodgers, you're starting Adams, you're starting Jones. Don't get cute.
Yeah.
Another guy I really like is Tanyan, who's come on pretty strong the last couple of weeks. I've actually been starting him in your league, where I am in the semifinals, and he's been solid. I mean, he had a big week when he first came out, and then kind of fell off. And since then, after a couple weeks later, he's been a steady tight end. I mean, he's not your Hawkinson, Waller, Kelsey, but he's probably that next tier behind that. Like, I'm more comfortable, I think, starting him than just about anybody else other than those top 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, for sure. He has 9 touchdowns. Like at tight end, you want anything. Like you take scraps. It's like your start, like you're starting than Ethiopian. Like you, it doesn't matter where the points come from. So if you get a tight end as 9 touchdowns, you'll take it all day, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think he has 4 games in a row with a score. Yeah, 4 games in a row with a touchdown, and this is half PPR that I'm looking at. So because that's the only league I have him in, but he's had over 12 in every single game. So in full PPR, he's probably had over 14.
Half PPR is the truth, by the way, guys. Full is cheating.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got their own. I kind of come around on that a little bit. I was telling Jacob, I kind of hate when I see a guy have 10 catches for Juju. I think has had a couple games where he has
yards. It's like, what the hell?
Worse, Juju's had like 8 for 28, and he still finishes with like 11 points. I'm like, dog, like, okay. Panthers have been actually pretty interesting. CMC's out. It sounds like he's doubtful, but I can't see him playing this week, which kind of sucks, man. He's been.
I know it sucks.
If you had him and you had Mike Davis, there's a chance you're still around. So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions here. Number one, Mike Davis. I'm in a league where I have Swift, Mike Davis, and then I have Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So I want you to assume first, option 1. Let's say Mostert plays. I'm starting Swift no matter what. Are you starting Davis or Mostert if Mostert plays?
I think that's easy. I think that's Davis. Just because Mostert could be in a rep count.
Yeah.
We don't know the situation like fully with that. So yeah, Davis easy.
I'm with you on that. So I think the bigger question for me is if Mostert sits and Jeff Wilson gets the nod, are you starting Jeff Wilson knowing that he's probably going to get the lion's share of the carries against a bad Cowboys defense, or are you still starting Mike Davis? And I'm right now, just my thing, I'm probably leaning Mike Davis just because Kyle Shanahan has been so unpredictable that you just don't know. Maybe McKinnon finally rises from the ashes after 5 weeks of not touching the ball. You just don't know. So
yeah, I think like if you want to get cute and like you can go Wilson, but I'm going Davis just to be safe because he's more for sure.
Yeah, and they're playing the Packers, and the Packers are probably going to whoop that ass. So I actually kind of like Davis more in a come behind just because if he's getting 8-9 catches, he's in those full PPRs, he's giving you a ton of value on that. So okay, and then I didn't mention injuries here, but DJ Moore, he was on the COVID list. He missed last week. He's back. Coach said he will play. So Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. If you have all 3 of those guys, are you comfortable starting all of them? Are you benching any of them?
Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna bench DJ Moore. Probably roll with Robbie.
How about Curtis Samuel?
What has Samuel been up to? Let me see.
He's been kind of killing it, man.
He's been solid, huh? 10 targets, 5 targets, 9 targets, and they're going against Green Bay.
Yeah. I mean, look at his points, though. This is the last, since week 7. 17 points, 22, 27. Then he had a 4, but then 22, 13, and 16. I mean, I wasn't a huge believer the first few weeks that he came out, but I picked him up, I think, in week 10 in 3 leagues.
No,
I've been starting him, and he's been delivering.
Yeah, he doesn't really score too much, but
He doesn't score touchdowns, but he is kind of
yeah.
a gadget player where he's going to
I
get
think
you yards.
I think it goes Robbie.
Yeah.
It goes Robbie Moore Samuel personally. I think.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because Samuel. I mean, yeah, DJ Moore's better than Curtis Samuel.
He's better, but I feel more comfortable that Samuel's going to be more involved. So,
Yeah, because he's more short routes, easier.
yeah. So I got Robbie Samuel Moore, but you
Mhm.
never know because
Yeah,
Moore is the kind of guy who we've seen him get 2 catches,
exactly.
72 yards, 2
Yeah.
touchdowns,
Hmm.
and he makes your week right there. So, I am starting Curtis Samuel in one league.
Ooh.
I'm starting him in a league where my other options
Yeah.
are
Yeah. Who
kind
got
of.
hurt?
So I have Gaskin on COVID, and I
Okay.
have Kenny Galladay's been out.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
options are Clyde and Lynn Bowden Jr. So I
Gotcha.
feel kind of comfortable rolling with Curtis Samuel there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good play.
Yeah. All right. I don't think there's much else to talk about here, guys. Yeah, let's move on. So next one is the Seahawks and the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. How are you feeling about this? Who you starting? Who you sitting?
I'm
Um,
starting the entire Seahawks team because
yeah,
they're the Seahawks.
yeah,
Russell Wilson, MVP candidate. Carson came. He's been back 2 weeks and he's strong.
yeah,
Lockett. See, Lockett is that kind of guy that can win you the week or
yeah,
just disappear. But
yeah,
DK, I feel more comfortable like as a higher floor than Lockett. But you don't sit him. You got to play him. So
yeah. That's the scary thing, man. I'm in the league with Lockett. I got him from you,
mm-hmm.
and I have DK also. I feel a little bit better starting both of them. So I'm at a predicament where I don't like Lockett's had some big games to start the year, but since week 7, when he had that big 60-point
Mm-hmm.
game, it hasn't been great. And so, but I don't have a much better option. My option would be to start Mostert or Jeff Wilson Jr. So I'm rolling with him, but
Yeah.
it's scary. It's like I'm expecting 10, but I know that he has potential to get 30.
Exactly.
So
But you don't want to be the guy
that
when
benches
friends
him.
ask you, like, oh, you lost? Oh, how'd you lose? Oh, I sat Lockett. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be that guy. I'd rather lose with Lockett in my lineup. So you kind of have to go with them unless you have just like your team is stacked.
Yeah, stupid stacked.
Yeah.
How about on the football team side of the ball? It sounds like Alex Smith is the team is optimistic, but he's not practiced all week.
If he doesn't play, you bench everybody.
Really? Okay. And then Antonio Gibson's not practicing, but he's working off to the side. So let me ask you, we're down to the finals, the final 2 weeks. Let's say Alex Smith sits, but you have Antonio Gibson. You're not starting him under any circumstances. Are you starting Zeke over him if Alex Smith sits?
No way. Actually, hold on. Yeah, no, because Gibson's banged up a bit, so it's not like he.
Yeah.
No, I go Zeke. If Alex Smith sits, I go Zeke.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the opposite on this one with you. I'm going to go the other route. If Haskins starts, I actually want to start Scary Terry. If Alex Smith starts, I want to start Logan Thomas. And I don't want to start Scary Terry. Scary Terry has taken the biggest hit from Alex Smith being in there. The football team is much better. Logan Thomas is much better. McKissick is better. Antonio Gibson is better. The whole team in general is better. But Scary Terry took the biggest hit when Alex Smith came in, and he has not recovered. And it kind of sucks as a guy who has him, but I haven't really relied on him. But I started to get excited seeing some big games, and he's been trashed the last 3 or 4 weeks. So
yeah, you're right. So, that is a good point.
yeah.
So you're saying, you're that team in the playoffs. You have Terry McLaurin in your lineup. You're saying you're not starting him no matter what. You're only going to start him if Alex Smith's out.
If Alex Smith is out, I want to start Scary Terry. So I'll put it to you this way. Let's say I have Cole Beasley, Curtis Samuel, and either one of those guys. Obviously not both, but either one. And then Terry McLaurin. If Alex Smith sits, I'm starting Terry McLaurin. If Alex Smith plays, I'm starting either Curtis Samuel or Beasley over him.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's just kind of where I'm at. And then obviously, like I said, if Alex Smith does play, I love Logan Thomas, man. That guy has been money. And like you said, an Ethiopian level tight end where it is scary out here. So,
but if Alex Smith sits, we can bench Logan Thomas all day. Like but tight end's so scarce. You probably still have to start him at this point.
I mean, it just depends. If you have somebody else, if you've been holding on to a Gronkowski and Logan Thomas has been giving you some good weeks. If Alex Smith sits, I'm starting Gronk. But if Alex Smith plays, fire up your Thomas.
So we have Font, right? Would you start Font or Alex Smith list?
I would start Font.
Font. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I've started Font just because I think you're better. You're going to probably get 4 or 5 catches for 40, 50 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I think Font's upside is limited, but I think he's got a decent floor.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll go on to the next game, which is 49ers versus Cowboys, and this is a pretty unexciting one. Both of these teams are pretty much out of the playoffs, and they're both really banged up. Obviously, we know about the Niners' injuries with Jimmy G and Kittle, but now we're seeing Mostert had an MRI on Tuesday, and he's limited, and so it looks like you're gonna get maybe a limited Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, I'm not sure that you can rely on either of those guys. I think maybe for fantasy owners, you're hoping either Mostert looks great and he's healthy and you can trust him, or that he just completely sits and then you can at least take a flyer on Jeff Wilson Jr. if you made it this far with one of those guys relying on them. And then you got Ayuk, who I think is a must start. Again, we talked about it. I don't have 15 guys higher than him. I'm starting him over every single one of those Panthers wide receivers we talked about. I'm starting him over. Yeah, I'm starting him over Lockett, Scary Terry.
Over Lockett? Ooh.
Easily.
Yeah, that's easy at this point. Yeah. And Mullins is one of those quarterbacks. He's like Mullins is like a Fitzpatrick. He has like 10 interceptions. He's just going to chuck it to you till it works.
Yeah, so. He's kind of trash. I think he might get benched.
At this point, why bench him?
Kyle Shanahan, from what I've seen, is non-committal on the situation. But he has CJ Beathard there. I think Nick Mullins has shown us that he's not a reliable backup quarterback. So I think they're going to let Beathard just try to air it out. I don't know. I think Ayuk is probably better off with Mullins just because Mullins, like you said, he kind of just throws those middling passes and he's going to get a couple interceptions every game, but he's putting the ball where it needs to be a lot of the times. And he likes Ayuk. We know that they have a kind of a chemistry. Beathard is a little bit – he's got the deep ball, which I think may favor Richie James Jr. a little bit more. But with Debo out, obviously, because we know that I forgot to mention Debo is also out. I think probably everybody knows that by now. You probably aren't relying on him in the playoffs just because he hasn't been here all season. But it sounds like he's going to be out probably the rest of the year. So, and then on the other side of the ball, we have the Cowboys. And the scary thing about Zeke, man, is Tony Pollard, I think, looks better.
Yeah, he's more explosive when he gets the touches. Yeah. He's exploding through the hole and getting points. Like it's kind of frustrating because I don't want to put Tony Pollard in my lineup, sit Zeke, and then lose. Like I'm gonna look so stupid.
Yeah.
So if the choice is those two, you have to go Zeke just for like your sanity. But Pollard does look better with the touches.
Yeah, I'm more wondering on the long-term aspect of it. I think the Cowboys are locked into Zeke for next year, so I think they have to make it work. But they did spend a draft pick on Pollard last year. He looks good. He's going to be coming up needing a contract here pretty soon. They could probably bring him back for cheap. I'm thinking at the end of next year, Zeke is gone. That's probably I think it's probably more of a dynasty thing to talk about, but my guess is Zeke's time in Dallas is limited. What?
They paid him.
They paid him?
Did they give him an extension?
They did, but I guess the guaranteed money is only until the 2021.
Oh.
And then they can cut him with no loss. So, so we'll see what happens. I mean, dude, they're sitting there talking about not paying Dak.
They should have paid Dak. Oh, my God.
And they paid Zeke and Cooper. And $200 million or $190 million between the two of them. And you see, the whole team relies on Dak. And you can make do with Gallup and Lamb and Pollard. You cannot make do with Andy Dalton.
No,
So
no way.
pay that damn man before the Niners step in there and pay him for you.
Yeah, don't start any of the Cowboy receivers. Like only if you have to, and if you have to, Cooper
Yeah,
between the three.
Cooper's actually been somewhat solid.
Yeah, but he's not winning you any weeks. He's just not giving you zeros. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel comfortable starting any of these guys with Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably, if Cooper got you here, you probably don't have a better option. I know, like, Justin, he's in the playoffs. He's starting Cooper. It's not a good matchup against the Niners, but, I mean, Cooper the last 5 weeks, he's been 12.5, 14, 23, 16, 15. He doesn't have that ceiling that he had with Dak, but the floor is decent. He's putting up at least 10 points a game. He had that one really bad week, but his floor is okay. Lamb, I can't imagine that you're starting him.
No, there's no way. He's good, but Dalton's just not the quarterback.
Not for him.
Not for him.
Yeah. You know, the scary thing is, man, Lamb was a top 10 guy until Dak went out.
Crazy. Like me personally, when I seen Dak, I was like, okay, he's not that important. You can wait to pay him. But oh my goodness, pay that man. Like, Jesus Christ. Everybody just took a dive.
Yeah, I was the biggest Dak shit talker. I was like, he's not a real quarterback. He's not winning you games. Look at the Cowboys. They got Zeke. They got all these wide receivers. They got a defense. They had an offensive line. They're not doing shit. And then I come out and see this year, and I'm like, whoa. Dak is the only reason that they've even been a 10-win team.
Exactly.
They're a 5-win team. So, yeah, they need Dak. You got to pay him. All right, I don't think there's much left to talk about there.
No.
Let's move on to the next game. We've got the Bears in a divisional matchup versus the Vikings. What are you thinking about this? Who are you starting on the Bears side?
Oh, my goodness. I don't understand what Nagy has against Montgomery.
Like, dude, he's been balling the last couple weeks.
No, Montgomery has been balling. But he had 4 carries in the first quarter, and then he finishes the game with 11. It just makes no sense. 11 carries for 113 yards. How does that work? He's not utilizing them properly.
No, I mean, his last 3 weeks, he killed it all 3 weeks, and he had 11, 17, and 11.
Yeah, but what happened? What's switched?
I don't know. I know that Trubisky's been playing the last, week or two?
Because Montgomery took, who's his name's job?
Cohen's?
No. Before Cohen. No. Cohen was a rookie last year.
Yeah.
No. David Montgomery took somebody's job 2 years ago because Nagy seen that he was flashing, and then he doesn't give him the work that he deserves.
No, so it was the opposite. Cohen was balled out 2 years ago, and then Montgomery got drafted as a rookie last year, and Montgomery takes the job. He gets 300 carries, and he doesn't do shit with it.
Yeah.
And then this year, he's been – I don't want to say he's been awful, man, because I went back and looked, and the guy has finished with over 10 points in all but 3 games.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that we hate about Montgomery is just he gets you 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't – it's like, dude, when earlier in the season, he's getting 20, 25 carries or 20, 25 touches a game.
Yeah.
You want to see those 25, 30-point games like Josh Jacobs has or like James Robinson has had or, a number of guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all these young guys that come out and, they get you those 10, 12-point games too, but James Robinson gets you 35 sometimes. And as a fantasy owner, it's just so frustrating that he hasn't done that. But if you've stuck with him the whole season as an RB2 or as a flex play, and it's paying off now.
Yeah, I agree. If you have him, you start him. You're not benching Montgomery especially after these 3 weeks versus Minnesota for sure. You start Montgomery, and then the next guy we have is Allen Robinson. He's a little banged up with a knee, but any update on that? Did he practice today?
I didn't see anything about that. He wasn't on the injury news that I was looking at, but
he should be fine if he wasn't on the injury list for today.
Yeah, he's completely clear.
I personally, Allen Robinson's on my no draft list probably for the rest of my life. But if you made it with him this far, you got to roll with him. There's nobody you're going to bench him for.
Dude, he killed me last week. I mean, the guy had 28 points. And,
Yeah.
dude, this year he has not went under 10 points since week 2. And he's had over 20 points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks this year. That's pretty big. I think he's top 10 as far as wide receivers go.
Yeah, he's having a great season. I just don't like him because if you draft him next season, he's gonna not do this, guys.
I don't know. He's pushing 2 years in a row now,
Yeah.
and it's with a trash quarterback.
I drafted him after that 1,400 yard season. He got like 400 yards the next year.
To be fair, I think he tore his ACL or something. But
I don't care.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That was a second round pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you're in the playoffs. Your last 4 teams. You're not starting Trubisky. I know he had a good week last week.
No. What about Graham as like a little flyer, like Jimmy Graham, Noah Fant, Logan Thomas? Jimmy Graham has been serving. He got a touchdown last week, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So here's where I'm at. I'm gonna guess tight end is such an important position, dude, and it took me this long to realize it. I've always known it was important, but I've never went out and spent the capital to get a guy. And this year, I have Waller and Kelsey in each.
It feels good, huh?
It feels fucking great, dude. Yeah. Every week, I'm like, dude, Kelsey's about to put up 30. Okay, yeah. Oh, I look at the matchups and I'm like, okay, I have this running back, these wide receivers, this guy has this. Oh, we look pretty even. Then I'm like, oh shit, I have Kelsey and he has freaking, Jimmy Graham, and I feel great. So I'm like, listen. I'm going to assume that if you made it this far, you probably have Waller, you probably have Kelsey, you maybe have Hawkinson. I think those are the 3 guys that people have carried people.
True.
If you don't have any of those guys and your choice is like Jimmy Graham, you're probably going to play him. I'm not excited about it, but, like you said, at this point, you're praying for a touchdown. But Jimmy Graham's floor is 0. I mean, that's the scary thing. His floor is literal 0. So I think if you're deciding between him, you're probably not here, but we'll see. Other side of the ball, we've got Justin Jefferson, the man, the myth, the legend. He has balled out this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He is wide receiver number 9 on the season with 219 points in full PPR.
Jesus Christ.
So he has been nothing short of impressive. I think a lot of us talked about how he had a clear path to taking Diggs' role. It looks like he took Adam Thielen's role, and Thielen went to Diggs' spot. Although, to be fair, they're very close. Thielen and Diggs or Jefferson, they're separated by less than 8 points. But still, that's impressive as hell. So if you have Thielen, if you have Justin Jefferson, you're not getting cute. You're starting both of them.
Yeah. Let's see who we have.
Dalvin Cook, same thing, right? You're starting him no matter what. So I don't think there's anything else to talk about here. If you have, Kirk Cousins has actually been really good. I'm going to assume that you have a better option if you made it this far. But I don't hate him against the Bears. I think it's going to be tough, so I don't want to start him. But you never know. With these divisional matchups, it could be high scoring. It could be very low scoring. But I'm going to probably stay away if I can.
Yeah, I agree. Staying away.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. And we have what is surprisingly, I think,
your favorite team.
A pretty decent matchup with some playoff implications on the line, and that is the Dolphins versus the Patriots. The Dolphins are in the playoffs. Demont, how do you feel about that? I don't feel they're not good in the playoffs, but
they're in the hunt. Yeah,
and they're sitting in I think the 6th seed right now.
Yeah, they're scheduled to play what? Who not the Chiefs? They're scheduled to play the.
We'll see how it shakes out, but I mean, right now, like you said, with that Raiders loss pushing them down to 7-7.
I thought we were not going to mention that.
Well, you're looking at you got the Titans and the Colts both at 9-4. You got this, and I know we're a fantasy podcast, but we also enjoy football. You got those 2. You got the Steelers and Browns at 9-4 and 11-2. You got the Chiefs, and then you got the Bills. Now, those 6 are probably locks for the playoffs at this point, right? I think mathematically speaking, it's going to be really hard for any of them to get knocked out, if not impossible. So then you have the Dolphins at 8-5. You have the Raiders at 7-7. You have the Ravens at 8-5, and you also have the Patriots at 6-7. So while the Patriots are probably eliminated because they need a lot of people to lose to get there, they want to, I'm sure, beat the Dolphins to keep them out of the playoffs, keep Tua down, and get the Ravens in there. So I think that team is going to come out and play some damn good football. And I'm not sure I trust Tua this week or any of those guys. How are you feeling about starting them fantasy-wise?
Ooh, I don't want anybody in this game except for like Gesicki.
Yeah. Well, I hear Gesicki, and I forgot to mention that. So let's get into my injuries. Gaskin's out COVID. He's going to miss his second week in a row. Gesicki missed practice on Wednesday. He practiced Thursday. We're not sure if he's going to play. He's got a questionable with a shoulder injury.
Ooh.
And then Devontae Parker also hammy, limited practice 2 weeks in a row, or 2 days in a row. I don't think he did much last game. I think he may have won out early. If Gesicki's playing, but with a bum shoulder, do you trust that?
Yes, because all I need is one touchdown from you, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. I mean, he's been okay, and
I think he's been slightly more than okay, right? Or
I
mean, these last 3 weeks he's put up what 10, 19, 21. That's good.
I mean, as far as tight ends go, we talked about it earlier, and I have not. This is actually the first time I've looked at the tight ends, the top tight ends this year. But obviously, we all knew that Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson were the top three. Yeah. Right? I had mentioned earlier in the podcast that if you have Tonyan, you're probably feeling about as good as anybody but those three guys.
Yeah.
Now I'm just looked at it right now. Gesicki is actually number 5 on the year of tight ends.
Holy shit!
And it's probably because he had the last 3 games. He's had 24, 24, and 11 and a half. Yeah. So you probably got to ride that hot streak, right? So even with a bum shoulder, you're putting him in. You probably don't have a better option.
Bro, tight end is brutal. Oh, my goodness.
It is. I mean, look at where Logan Thomas is at, and he didn't really come on until
brutal.
Yeah, later in the season. So
like, Kelsey is so valuable. Holy shit.
I mean, he's doubling.
Like, he's so valuable.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 100 points, more than 100 points more than anybody not named Darren Waller.
He's damn near a first-round draft pick.
I mean, if you look at it this year.
He literally is.
If you look at it this year, he's 40 points, not even 35 points behind the number 1 wide receiver, which happens to be Tyreek Hill.
That's a first-round draft pick. Holy moly.
I know this is a topic for a different podcast, but in our league, or in my league, I'm debating keeping him as my second keeper over DK Metcalf and over I forget who else I was debating, Hopkins, and then I'm thinking about keeping him. So we'll see what happens.
And I pour another shout out for the Zach Ertz drafters this year. Oh my goodness. That is, you might as well have drafted me at that point. Like, that's horrible. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So I think we can skip past this game. The other guy I just want to briefly mention is Lynn Bowden Jr., who the Raiders hysterically drafted in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. I heard some stuff. He was partying, COVID. The Raiders didn't like it. They traded him away to Miami. He sits on the bench. He didn't have any time to learn over the summer. He sits on the bench. Finally, the last 2 weeks he comes on, and he has 2 great weeks. He is interesting. I think the most interesting thing about him is that he's listed as a running back and a wide receiver. So if you are in a spot where your running back is shit and you are starting a Zeke, and Lynn Bowden Jr. had 9 points 2 weeks ago, but 4 of 4 catches, 41 yards. And then last week he puts up 15 and he gets 9 targets, 7 catches, 82 yards. You go into that game and we say, no Gaskins, Gesicki's hurt, Devontae Parker's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You might do worse than starting Lynn Bowden Jr. at running back.
Yeah, this kind of information is league winning, guys, right here. That's a good analysis right there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, not much else to talk about there. I don't like Damian Harris. I don't like Jacoby Myers. I'm definitely sure as shit not starting Cam Newton. I think we can move on. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Baltimore Ravens. How you feeling about this?
The Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't Jackson. I'll start with the Ravens. I mean, I feel like the Jackson drafters aren't in the playoffs just because he was a second round pick minimum.
Mm.
But I mean, you could be. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see what he put up last week.
He's been killing it actually the last 2 weeks. 37, and this is in year league where it's 4 point per touchdown.
Yeah,
He had 37, and the week before he had 30. And that's 4 points per touchdown. So that's legit ESPN scoring.
yeah.
Listen, I think what you're saying is right. If you drafted him with high draft capital, like a second or third round pick, you probably didn't make it this far. But
True.
if you did, you're starting him.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been running.
Yeah.
And he got that sense of urgency because they're not as good as they were last year. But just to be, I don't know.
The Jaguars can't tackle anybody, dude. Derrick Henry just put up 215 yards.
But yeah, I can't. Derrick Henry's hard to tackle, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but listen, Lamar Jackson just needs to put up 2 touchdowns. I don't care if they're running. I don't care if they're passing. He needs to give me 100 yards on the ground, 150 yards through the air, and I'm happy. So if he does that, which I think he's going to against this bad Jaguars, and listen, the Ravens' life is on the line here. They can't afford to lose. They lose. They need to win and hope the Patriots beat the Dolphins. They're fighting for the playoffs with the Dolphins. Yeah. So I think that's a big one. Some of the other names here, Dobbins, Edwards.
You're starting.
Yeah. Okay. Andrews, Brown. Definitely not starting Brown, but you're probably starting Andrews if you're here.
Yeah. I can't start Brown. I mean, that catch was good last week, but you can't bank on that.
Yeah.
I think the main starters in this, you're going to start Jackson. Yeah. You have to start Andrews, and Dobbins you have to start. And minus that, you want to look elsewhere unless you have nobody.
Yeah. On the other side of the football, Keelan Cole Jr., he's been up and down. He's had 25-point games, but he's had 2-point games. I'm staying away from Shark, starting James Robinson. You agree with that?
1,000%. I'm staying away from all their pass catchers and rolling with Robinson only.
Yep. All right, let's kind of rattle some of these out. Or the next one we can focus a little bit more time. Then we'll try to rattle some off because we're already about 45 minutes in, and
oh my goodness,
we got a lot left to cover. So Bucks Falcons. I mean, I'll just start rattling some stuff. You tell me if you agree. You're starting. I think you start Brady here, unless you have a much better option.
You start Brady.
You're benching Matt Ryan, but I think if you have Ridley, you're starting him, and that's probably it. Unless Julio plays, I'm not starting anybody else on the Falcons. Not Gurley. Gage, I know had a big game, but the Bucks have a good defense. I just don't trust it. Hurst, after being great, has not been so good. And then on the other side of the football, I know that this is against the Falcons. I expect Brady to be good. I just don't know who I can trust between Godwin, Evans, Brown, Gronk.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't want anybody in this game except for Fournette.
Yeah, so I put Fournette there because Ronald Jones landed on the COVID list on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I don't think he has it, but he's contact tracing. You know how that goes, 5 days. Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's going to knock him out. I'm with you. If you have Ronald Jones and Fournette, you're probably starting Fournette. He's a safe bet. Listen, I think that at least one of these Buccaneers pass catchers is going to have a really good game. I just don't know which one.
Exactly. That's the gamble. And Ridley started, like you start Ridley though.
Yeah.
So no questions about it.
Yeah. And listen, I'm starting Gronk in the league because as far as tight ends go, my choice is Gronk or Dallas Goedert. And we'll talk about Goedert later, but I'm taking Gronk there.
Yes, because Gronk is more likely to get a touchdown.
Exactly. I think he's going to get you a touchdown. If he gets you another big catch, you finish with 10 points, you're happy.
True.
So let's move on to the next game. Yeah. This is Lions-Titans. Listen, we got Stafford. He is missed practice all week. He's questionable. We'll see. That guy's a fucking Iron Man. So we know that if he can play, he will. And then Galladay is doubtful again. I'm done with that dude. So let's say this. If Stafford plays,
yes,
do you consider starting Marvin Jones and DeAndre Swift? I'm assuming if you have Hawkinson and you're in this far, you're starting him regardless of who's the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. But
Swift and Jones.
not the same with Jones. I think Swift is an auto start.
Yeah,
Let me see. Jones, if
he's been pretty good.
but only if Stafford's playing, obviously.
We don't know, right? If Stafford hasn't really missed, he missed part of last game, and Jones had 9 points. But we don't really know what he's like without him. But listen, Jones since week 7, 13, 19, 13, 24, 9, 11, 26, 9.
And the targets are heavy. They're like 5 and plus. Like he
Oh,
gets
yeah.
targeted.
He's had over 10 targets 3 games. So in that what I just rattled off. So
yeah, you're right. I like Marvin if Stafford's playing. Tennessee just has a way to just kill the game though.
yeah.
With clockwise, they just make the game seem shorter.
Yeah. So the forecast over there is showers.
Ooh, that's tough.
Stafford's banged up. Listen, I think you're automatically starting Swift, like you said.
Yeah,
You're starting Hawkinson. You're praying for a touchdown.
Exactly.
And if you need Marvin Jones, you're doing it. But I do like some. I think I put him in that Cole Beasley, Curtis Samuel category, and I kind of like him a little bit less than both of those guys.
I'd rather start Cole Beasley and Samuel over him.
Yeah. So that's on the other side of the ball. I don't think there's too many question marks. Derrick Henry, you starting him. AJ Brown, starting him. How do you feel about Corey Davis, though?
He's been balling out.
Except last week. He didn't do anything.
Yes, true. But he did catch all of his targets.
What was that? 2 targets?
Yeah, 3 targets, 34
yards.
So, and then the previous week he feasted, but which is an outlier because he got 12 targets last week, which isn't. Damn. But what playoff team has Corey Davis in our lineup?
I think a lot, man. Because listen, he's been good. So if you have a guy, imagine you're week 13, you're fighting for your playoff life, whatever. You start Corey Davis. He puts out 40 points. You make the playoffs. And
okay.
I know for sure that happened because it happened in one of my leagues. Not with me, but with somebody else. Yeah. So you start Corey Davis. He puts out 40. You play him the next week. He burns you for 4. It's kind of like the Tyler Lockett thing. You don't want to be the guy that benches him and he goes for 30. But you know what? I'm going to kind of avoid it and I'm going to only say just because I think this is another Derrick Henry game against the awful run defense line. So
can we assume every game is a Derrick Henry game except minus an AJ Brown game?
Yeah, true. But you're starting him too.
I will never dog you for benching Corey Davis. Only Tyler Lockett. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just
true.
But he has been decent this year.
He's been very good.
He's one of the harder players.
Yeah. Listen, I think there's a good chance that if you have him, you probably don't have a lot of better options because if he's probably carries you, a lot of the season because I think he's been a top 30 guy.
Yeah.
He has. He's been wide receiver number 28. So what are you to do there? Again, he's one of those guys, like I said, he's in that Samuel Beasley level. And if you don't have a better option, you start him. If you feel better about someone, go ahead.
That's true. And we know his ceiling is high, obviously, because of the season. So you're right.
It's one of those dart throws.
It's not the worst pick, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. AJ Brown, you're starting him. Nothing else really to talk about there.
Yeah.
Texans, Colts. So you've got I don't know. This is a tough one. You got Brandon Cooks coming back. Cuties out there. Chad Hansen's actually been startable 2 weeks in a row. DJ's back from COVID. Are you starting any of those guys?
You know what? If your team is composed how my team is, if you have Cooks, you didn't make the playoffs. So nobody in the Texans at all. Maybe I could see a Watson team.
Yeah, I think if you have Watson, you have to start him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's a good matchup.
It's decent. Yeah, the Colts have been okay, but they give up points. They're good defense, but I've seen they have given up points. Yeah. And Watson has been good. I think you
start Watson, but I'm not feeling very comfortable about anybody else, really.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Jonathan Taylor, 3 weeks in a row, he's finished as a top 10 running back. I think you have to start him, right? Must start against this bad Texas defense.
I watched some versus the Raiders. You got to just start him. Fuck it, dude.
Yeah. How about T.Y. Hilton? That's the other interesting guy here.
That is a fool's gold.
So I almost put him on my fool's gold this week,
That's a
and then I started looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? I can't put him on my fool's gold because what if Phillip Rivers, listen, his last 3 weeks, T.Y. Hilton, 18, 25, 26. And I started thinking, what if Phillip Rivers finally figured it out? What if he finally realized that the way that you're going to win with this Colts team is by giving Hilton the ball? Because that is historically what has happened over there, right? They feed him the ball, and he puts up top 20 fantasy numbers when he's healthy. His issue was always health. He was always missing weeks. This year, he's actually surprisingly stayed healthy almost all year, but it just hasn't been a factor until the last 3 weeks.
I think it had to have been mental.
With T.Y. or with Rivers?
With T.Y.
Yeah. It could have been. I think, you know what I think it was is that Rivers never had a guy like T.Y. in San Diego, in Los Angeles. He had Keenan Allen. He threw to his running backs. He threw to Keenan Allen. He relied on Antonio Gates. He relied on 10, 15-yard passes. Even the deep target receiver that he had was Mike Williams. And if you remember, Mike Williams was kind of a guy who would go and fight for a ball 50 yards down the field.
Yeah.
He wasn't burning people.
Exactly. You're right. He would go up and get it.
T.Y. Hilton fucking burns people, but you have to throw him the ball and let him burn them. So I don't know. I think maybe it was just quarterback and running back trying to get on, or wide receiver trying to get on the same page.
You're starting him now for sure. You're starting him.
Naheem Hines.
Naheem Hines. Ooh.
He's been okay, even though he's kind of relegated to the second man now. His last 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, I should say, 28.5, 8.5, 17.5, 12.5, 11.5. You could do worse.
You can definitely do worse for
Zeke or Hines?
Hines, easy. I wouldn't even blink.
Interesting. Okay. I think I'm with you, surprisingly. I actually think Hines probably offers a higher floor, and I think a higher ceiling.
The higher both. Yeah. Zeke is a bum right now, without that.
And Hines is probably going to get you at least 4 catches. So I
minimum.
think the floor is 7-8 points minimum. Yeah.
And he could take any of those 4 catches to the house.
Yeah. And sometimes they give him goal line carries, so you never know. So I agree with you there. Move on to the next one. Eagles versus Cardinals. Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts obviously killed it last week. Are you starting Miles Sanders as a must start? How do you rank him? Top 15, top 10, top 20?
I think he's a RB1, so a top 12. You start Sanders because the Jalen Hurts factor. I mean, you watched the game last week. You have to start Sanders.
Yeah,
like easy. It's not even a question. Especially an Arizona game, that plus or minus is going to be like 70 points. Like,
yeah,
for sure.
So let me just throw this out there. Let's say that you've been kind of streaming quarterbacks all season. You haven't really had a great one. You've been, using Wentz earlier, then maybe Big Ben or Stafford or Matt Ryan, whatever. You Taysom Hill. You get to this point this week. Jalen Hurts had 100 yards on the ground last week. He had 160 yards through the air. I think he scored 2 touchdowns, or 1 or 2 touchdowns. He had like 22 points in a standard. Are you starting him? Is there any possibility?
I think if you don't consider it, you're kind of foolish because 18 carries for 106 yards is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So unless you have a Allen, a Rodgers, a Mahomes, I think you have to consider it just because of the rushing ability. In Arizona, we all know they play exciting games down to the wire, high-scoring games. You have to consider it. The matchup is just beautiful. And then oh my goodness, and then he has Dallas next week. Oh my God.
Yeah, and his floor is really high.
Yeah.
I saw some stat where like him and Lamar Jackson, I can't remember, but they were like the only guys that like their first game had over 100 yards on the ground as a quarterback. So listen, I'm not begging to start him, but if you're one of those guys who, like you said, you got through without a quarterback, your team was stacked, you're starting Taysom Hills and Derek Carrs and whatever, then I would start him if he's available. But, obviously if you have any of those other guys like Rodgers, don't get cute. Kyler Murray's another interesting one. He's been trash the last couple of weeks. Are you starting Hurts over Kyler?
Oh my God. Not head to head. I think I'd rather have Kyler over Hurts, personally.
Yeah. I'm with you. Okay, I don't think we need to talk about any of the Eagles wide receivers. The Hopkins just starting. Drake has been fucking monster the last 4 weeks.
You start
And
him.
Edmonds hasn't practiced all week. That's a best case scenario for our Drake owners. Start his ass.
The next one's an easy one.
Jets versus Rams. You're not starting anybody on the Jets. I think
Zero.
you have to start Akers, and I think you have to start Kupp and Woods if they've been in your lineup all year and they're healthy. Woods, I did see was questionable, so keep an eye out for that. I think if he doesn't start or if he doesn't play, that you may be able to fire up like a Higbee or one of those other tight ends. Gerald Everett, if Woods doesn't play.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Chiefs versus Saints, probably the best fantasy matchup of the week.
Oh my goodness.
Obviously, you're starting Mahomes, you're starting Kelsey, you're starting Tyreek Hill. Michael Thomas has missed practice 2 days in a row, but if it sounds like he's probably going to play, we'll see. No injury that we know of. Breeze was activated from the IR, but coach is saying he has a long way to go. But he's been taking first team reps. I don't know how to feel about that. Do you like Kamara Thomas better with Breeze or with Taysom Hill?
I like Kamara with Taysom, but Thomas obviously with Breeze.
Yeah.
So Breeze is not playing. I don't think he's going to play at all. So I mean, you start this guy still. Like, we're at the point where your team is your team, and if you have Thomas, Kamara, you're starting him.
Yeah.
I doubt you have Sanders, maybe in your flex, but if you listen to the earlier podcast, you're gonna start people over Sanders. In my personal.
So, Taysom Hill, if you have him and Hurts, who are you starting?
Hurts.
Okay.
Just because of is Hill's rushing?
It's been good. I mean, he's been getting a couple touchdowns.
But yardage wise, is he?
I don't think he's as good as Hurts, but
no, he's not. I'm gonna roll with Hurts easy, just because of yardage.
Well, Taysom Hill, he's been getting rushing touchdowns. I think he's had
like at the goal line and whatnot, like options.
Yeah, he's had 4 over the last 4 weeks.
He's been solid. He's been a solid quarterback these last 4 weeks. But Hurts is just more exciting. Like if you're asking me who I want to watch while I'm in the playoffs on a Sunday, I want to watch Hurts.
Yeah, it's just it's dangerous to start him, and then I like the Saints versus Chiefs. I think that's going to be high scoring, so we'll see. I don't think you can go wrong. I actually think they're both decent starts if you don't have one of those top guys. Yeah. Browns versus Giants. Baker Mayfield's actually good.
Oh my goodness, that's
question mark. I don't know. Is he okay? Chubb, you're definitely starting. Are you starting Hunt? He's kind of been hit and miss the last few weeks.
Isn't Hunt top 15?
He is kind of, but it's kind of legit. I don't know. I'm not. I'm benching him in a league. I know they're going against the New York Giants.
Your team's good, though.
It is. But I assume that if you're in the playoffs, you're good.
Yeah.
You know, so
you're starting Baker. You get a 5:20 game. You can have your beer, your wings, and watch. Yeah, you're starting Baker for a 5:20 game versus the Giants.
You're starting Baker?
I'm starting Baker if I'm in the playoffs.
Oh shit! I'm not starting Baker no matter what.
5:20 game, primetime, Giants.
I know, but
40 these last 2 weeks.
But it's Baker Mayfield. This fool is going against the Giants, and I expect him to have a 6-point game.
Bro, the Giants run D is solid. So I would be more concerned about Chubb and Hunt than.
Well, just so you know, the Giants give up the second, and I don't know, this may have to do with matchups. They give up the second or third least amount of points to quarterbacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that either. But listen, I think you can do worse, but I'm not excited. And Baker
Mayfield, who are you starting? Are you starting Baker?
Jalen Hurts.
Ooh.
I'm starting Jalen Hurts. I'm starting Taysom Hill. I trust.
Oh no!
Listen, the floor on Hill and Hurts is way higher than Baker Mayfield. Yes, Baker Mayfield has a higher ceiling, but his floor is 6 points. We've seen him get 2.
Yeah, but a lot of leagues have 300-yard bonuses, and Hurts or Taysom,
they're not hitting that.
They're not hitting that. So you get an automatic. Like if you're in a bonus league, for sure you go Baker because he gets the only one out of those 3 that can throw for 300.
And 6 points per passing touchdown, maybe. I'll
Yeah.
think about it, but I don't know. On the other side of the football, it looks like Daniel Jones is questionable. He's had some limited practices. Something about, I think he tweaked his ankle or his quad or something like that. Are you starting anybody on the Giants?
Gallman, maybe if I'm hurting. That's about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, interesting. I think if Daniel Jones plays, you probably throw Gallman out there. If not, God, that offense, the Browns defense is fucking good, dude.
It is.
I
Yeah.
know that the Ravens kind of pulled up a lot of points last week, but before that, they had been on a roll.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. And then let's get to the last one: Steelers versus the Bengals. Steelers are one of those teams, man. They are like the Buccaneers, where they have so many options that it kind of kills all of them.
They're the best, worst team that I've seen in like recent times. It's so weird.
So here's where I'm at with them. They lost 2 in a row, and I think that they played 3 games in 12 days. And I think that in football terms, especially with this fucking COVID stuff going on, you get tired legs. And I think that these guys just needed a break. And so I think that having a legit week off is going to do wonders. And they're going to obviously kill the Bengals. But are you starting Juju, Deontay, Ebron, Claypool? Who are you starting?
Oh, no. Didn't Deontay get benched for a bit? Or
I think he had some drops.
yeah, but he's been having a drop problem.
Yeah, but he's dynamic. When he gets the ball, he's dynamic.
I'm starting Juju and Deontay.
Not Claypool?
And Claypool. Like the Bengals are horrible. I'm starting all the Steelers.
So I'm a little bit worried about this game. Might be a Connor breakout, or it sounds like actually. Excuse me, Connor missed all week with practice all week with a quad. It could be a Snell game where they just run the ball because they don't need to pass. The defense gets a touchdown or two. Snell gets a touchdown. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but then we also know that Big Ben doesn't care, and it's a divisional matchup.
Yeah.
He might go out there and throw 4 touchdowns just for the hell of it.
Just for the hell of it.
So one guy I definitely trust, I think the most, is Eric Ebron. Not because he's the best one out of all of them. He's probably the worst one, but he plays that tight end position. And in tight end, he's super safe. That guy's getting you 7, 8, 10 points every week, and he has potential for 15. So I think if you have Ebron, I like him better than Font. I like him better than those other guys that we were talking about. I'm firing up Ebron if I have him.
I think that's not somewhat of a hot take, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an option. So would you Big Ben or Baker?
Big Ben.
Ooh,
Big Ben.
That easy?
I think so, just because I trust him to at least get me 20 points. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
I think Claypool had a bad game last week and the week before and the week before. He's coming off 3 kind of quiet weeks. Juju has kind of asserted himself as, I think, the most must-start guy out of this group. Just from a pure Ben Roethlisberger trust in. Deontay Johnson, I think, gets more targets, but Juju's right there. So I'm going Deontay, Juju, Ebron, and I'll start Big Ben if I have to, but obviously if I have a better option, I will. Bengals side of the football, nobody.
You're not feeling AJ Green's last week?
Listen, I know that he had a good week, but how many? I feel like that's like the 3rd time that he's had a good week, and then he does nothing after that.
Yeah, exactly. He always takes a week off. So you're not feeling Boyd with his 9 targets either? You don't think?
Higgins is my most favorite one out of those 3 guys. Higgins has been the most solid one out of all 3, but I know that he's kind of hit that rookie wall the last 4 weeks. But still, if I have to take a flyer on any of them, I'm going with Higgins.
Really? So out of Higgins, Green, and Boyd, you're going Higgins in your last flex spot?
I think Higgins has the safest floor. He's just he's the most solid one.
I think Boyd, just because of familiarity and just doing it over and over, but that's fair too.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Higgins.
Okay.
That's all really. I mean, I think if you got here, Higgins maybe got you here. I don't think Boyd's got you here. Higgins has a lot of playoff teams that I've seen have Higgins. So not as many have Boyd. So I don't know.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah. So if you got here with Higgins, Listen, he gets
Higgins was like your last pick in the draft,
but it was big.
Yeah.
Listen, Higgins is what, top 30 guy? Maybe top 25, I think, this year.
People drafted Rashard Higgins ahead of T, and he's carried you.
He's been way better.
He's been tempered.
Yeah, so I don't know. If you have T. Higgins, yeah, he's been wide receiver number 26 on the year.
Money.
Ahead of guys like Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, obviously, who got affected by Dak, so it's not really fair. But Marvin Jones, Brandon Cooks, all those guys. So if you have T. Higgins, you could do worse. That's really it. I don't have anything else. That's our preview week for this week, guys. We're excited to be back. I know we missed last week. We apologize if you're still riding with us. Everybody's been busy, man. We've got guys going through finals, guys doing all different types of stuff. I was moving, so
I will tell you the worst thing for fantasy football is having a child. I am in 6 leagues and I only made the playoffs in 1, and I blame it all on my kid. So if you have a kid, reduce your leagues to 1 so you can focus. That's just my tidbit.
Are you dropping leagues this year?
I think I don't want this to happen again, so I might have to. I have to.
Yeah, I'm thinking about cutting down to like 3, but it's
dude, this kid is just.
I'm in 5. I want to cut down to 3, but I think I'm going to do 4 because I'm not going to drop the Dynasty League. I don't want to drop your league. I'm not going to drop mine, and I'll probably ride with Shane's. All right. Well, Demont's out. So that's it for the show, guys. Demont had to go. Thank you for riding with us. You can get our merchandise. Don't forget TeePublic. We are on all of the audio podcasts. And then we'll be back next week, guys. Stay tuned. Regular episode is going to be coming out Tuesday. And then we'll be back again for the weekend episode. It's the last week of the season next week, so ride with us. And then just kind of wanted to throw this out there. We are talking about getting a fantasy basketball podcast going. So if you guys are interested, maybe drop a comment. Let us know what you're thinking and stay tuned. So take care, guys.